Welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to... I just realised my mic was all the way over there, so I think the audio might have just improved right now. And welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show. Joao Gomes open to Manchester United move, would agree to Manchester United move, and it will cost 44 million to sign him in January. In Ruben Amorim pushing for the player, according to reports in Portugal. Now, Portuguese reports are very hit and miss, but the record Portugal did say that Gyökeres wanted Arsenal before anyone else. So they're very hit and miss. Sometimes they're very good, sometimes they're not so good. But we're going to talk about that. Mark Ogden has come out and said a few interesting things. That United rejected Chelsea's offers for Romeo Lavia as part of a deal for Garnacho. And as much as I like Lavia, he cannot stay fit. So correct decision there. We'll talk about United's transfer strategy, how there's going to be money for the summer. We'll talk about Elliot Anderson. We'll talk about Baleba, the latest on that. But also, INEOS did have an interview with Thomas Frank. Thomas Frank has spoken out about that and more. So, I hope you're all doing well. It is a Monday. If you live in the UK, it's absolutely got freezing the last few days. I've been so cold. I have Reynard, so my hands, my fingers get really cold. Literally, they feel like ice right now. And I've got the heating on full. I want summer back. Get me to the World Cup. It's getting cold, but yeah, we're going to dive into some news stories, some updates, and more. I want to get into, first of all, what Mark Ogden's had to say, and then I want to get into the Joao Gomes news. But I do hope you guys are doing well. Gomes will be the perfect long-term partner for me. He's good at breaking down opposition attacks and will bring energy to our dead midfield. I wouldn't say the midfield is dead. I think Casemiro's done a good job, but I do think Joao Gomes does suit the system. Joao Gomes and Elliot Anderson, bish bash bosh. Very happy with that. All I'm going to say. And Joao Gomes could be doable in January. I think it was Sean Connolly that said the other day that Joao Gomes could be doable in January. Let me double check who said the other day, because obviously we've got reports from Portugal over a January move for Joao Gomes, but someone spoke about it the other day. Sean Connolly said Ruben Amorim and INEOS hierarchy considering a move for Joao Gomes as early as January. Nathan Salt said that we're looking at Joao Gomes. Ben Jacobs said that we have interest in Joao Gomes. So there's been a few links to the player. I've actually spoken about the player a few times before on this channel. I did a video on the player maybe a year and a half ago on the channel. So yeah. But anyway, let's dive into the news. Let's dive into the stories. Let's dive into one midfielder that I really like. I really rate. I think he's phenomenal, but I'm glad we didn't sign, and that is Lavia. Oh, there we go. United rejected Chelsea's offer of Romeo Lavia as part of the deal for Alejandro Garnacho due to concerns over his fitness record. So, I always say we should go for Santos. Santos for Garnacho, bish bash bosh swap. Chelsea didn't want to give us Santos. Why? Because Santos can stay fit. If Chelsea want to give you a player, there's a reason why. Lavia is great. Lavia cannot stay fit. Chelsea weren't willing to. They're willing to give us Nkunku. They're willing to give us Lavia, but they won't give us Santos. They won't give us anyone we want. I would want Santos off the back of that. They didn't give us Santos. And I'm actually glad United said no to this, because we get pure profit for Garnacho. We get cash in the bank. I'd rather have a fit Joao Gomes that can play every game than a Romeo Lavia that can play 5 games a season. I'd rather not bring in a midfielder when we desperately need a midfielder in the summer if it's a midfielder that's going to play about 5 games and get injured in Romeo Lavia. Joao Gomes, boom. Elliot Anderson, boom. That's the double deal we need to do. So I'm actually glad United have done this. Look, Santos hasn't looked amazing this season. He's not been given a run of games. I think that Santos could be available on the cheap. Not cheap because it's Chelsea, but I think Santos could be available for a decent price. Some people are not excited about Joao Gomes. I've always liked Joao Gomes. He's not Elliot Anderson. He's not Adam Wharton. He's not Camavinga. He's not Baleba. But Joao Gomes is a player that I've always liked. I've always rated him. I've said so much about Joao Gomes in the past. I wonder if I can find any of my past tweets on Joao Gomes, because I was a big fan of him, but I was a big fan of him when Erik ten Hag was in charge, because I always thought he would be a good player to complement the midfield. This is what I've had to say about Joao Gomes over the years. Some of these takes are probably aged really bad. Some of these takes would have probably aged really bad. because I tweet a lot, and a lot of what I tweet, I'll be honest with you guys, is absolute waffle, absolute nonsense. Half of them don't age bad. Yeah, literally a year ago, 2 days, year and minus 2 days. Yeah, I do really like Joao Gomes. Mentioned him back in summer. DMs United have looked at as an Ugarte alternative. Joao Gomes is there. I mean, look at some of these. I mean, I wouldn't say Reinders was a DM, but like, look at some of the names on this list. Yeah, I mean, Statcher's doing well at Leeds, Palacios at Wharton. From what I've heard, these are some of the names that those inside Man United like, which was true. Didn't sign any of them, but we liked Branthwaite, we couldn't get Todibo because of rules. We liked Elise, we liked Doué, we liked Joao Gomez, and Salimo went to Chelsea, idiot. He's a player that we've been linked to a little bit. Two players Man United have been reportedly following is Fofana and Gomez, and I said this on Gomez. Gomez has been followed by United scouts for over 2 years, starting when he's in Brazil. United scouts have followed Gomez at Wolves. Joao Gomez has been discussed internally with Casemiro, Eriksson and Amrabat expected to leave. His versatility, age and Premier League experience have made him stand out. Like, they've obviously got a bit of history going back with Joao Gomes, and I said over a year and a half ago, Joao Gomes is one of the midfielders Man United have closely been monitoring in recent months. Scout him again 2 years ago when he was at Flamengo, following his progress at Wolves. He's a 6'8" hybrid type player to be available for 40 million in the summer. He excels as a ball winner, strong in duels, and is technically solid. His best role was an all-action 8, but he's defensively sound. At 23, I can see Joao Gomes moving on to play for a Champions League club. Arsenal have also shown interest in him. One concern for Man United is he lacks maybe height. Again, player that I've liked, player that I've been a big fan of for a while, and I will get into the Joao Gomez news. So, look, he's not Elliot Anderson type signing, but Joao Gomez in January and Elliot Anderson in the summer would be, for me, a good way to move on the midfield. But of course, we'll take it with a pinch of salt. So we'll get into the Joao Gomez news, and then we'll get into some United transfer news. Let me just get the right screen up here. Ruben Amorim wants to strengthen the midfield and wants Joao Gomes for January. Joao Gomes is open to joining, but United will have to pay around 44 million to sign him. So Joao Gomes wants to join United. We know that. Joao Gomes pretty much will agree to join Man United in January. He's open to the move. Amorim wants the player. Man United like the player. It's 44 million to sign him. The problem we've got, and the issue we've got with Joao Gomes, is, well, Wolves have just brought in Rob Edwards. Wolves have just brought in a new manager. The new manager's not going to want to sell one of the best players. Like, that is factual truth. You're Rob Edwards, you're not going to go into Wolves and say, I'm going to sell one of my best players. Ruben Amorim wants to strengthen the midfield. Ruben Amorim wants Joao Gomes, and it's a 44 million deal to do it, which I don't think is a bad price. When you look at the midfield market, I don't think 40 million is a bad price at all for Joao Gomes. I think he must be, 23 or 24 now? Joao Gomes is 24. So he's a young player. He's a player that Arsenal have looked at in the past. And United are now considering a move for him and are not ruling out a move. Joao Gomes would like the move, £44 million. Ruben Amorim is trying to reinforce the midfield in January and push United to sign a midfielder. You know, there's been a lot of updates on Joao Gomes. The only thing, as I've mentioned, is the player wants the move. United want the move. The price is all right, to be fair. But will Wolves sell? With the situation that Wolves are in, they don't want to get relegated. The owners don't want to get relegated. They've brought a new manager in. Will Wolves sell? Because Sean Connolly said that Ruben Amorim and the INEOS hierarchy are considering a move for Joao Gomes as early as January, and he's a player that ticks a lot of Wilcox's boxes. Chris Wheeler said that United are monitoring Wolves midfielder Joao Gomes and are going to prioritise the 6 next summer. And there has been a bit of talk that United could go for Joao Gomes in January, and United believe they can test Wolves' resolve and get Joao Gomes in the January window if the right price was offered. But then I'm like, would Wolves do that? Wolves are thin in midfield. Wolves don't have a whole lot of midfield options. I don't know. Gomes or Gallagher? I would take Joao Gomes over Gallagher. Joao Gomes is better on the ball. So I would take him over Gallagher. Graham Bailey said we obviously appreciate Joao Gomes. And look, it was played by Ben Jacobs like a year ago that we liked both Wolves midfielders, Joao Gomes and Fluminense midfielder Andre. We liked them both. Like, we liked that Wolves midfield too. I know Wolves are better at the bottom of the league, but United have had interest in Wolves players for a while. Obviously, Cunha being one. We always thought we were going to get Neves, and we never got Neves. I'd have loved Neves at Man United. You know, Neves and Declan Rice. Imagine if we'd signed them back in the day when we were linked to them. Because I do think that the biggest issue we had under Ollie was we didn't have the midfielders. But it's been said for a while, we're looking at Joao Gomes, we're monitoring Joao Gomes, we're interested in Joao Gomes. United are ready to test Wolves' resolve in January. I mean, I think if Wolves are willing to sell Joao Gomes for 40 million in January, I think United would do it. He's not number one. Baleba and Anderson are obviously the ones that United want. But yeah, I think Wolves are still in a heartbeat. We probably have a good relationship after buying Cunha. I don't know. I just don't know if they'd sell. Yeah, he will play Bruno over this guy. What is the point? This is Amrabat all over again, but this time Bruno is the midfielder who should be benched, not McTominay this time. I mean, it depends who you bring in. I think Joao Gomes would play in the Casemiro role, but he is more of a 6/8 rather than a 6. And I think to replace Casemiro, you want an out-and-out 6. For the Bruno role, you want an 8. Gomes is a 6/8. I don't know. It's a difficult one with Gomes because I don't know if he plays best with Bruno in the midfield too, or he plays best in Bruno's role next to Casemiro. That's the interesting thing. Who would you replace Bruno with? Well, if Bruno was playing in the 10, I would replace him with Cole Palmer, who we would never get. As Bruno is playing as an 8, I'd probably replace him with Adam Wharton. Adam Wharton and Elliot Anderson would be my dream too. I like Baleba, but I'm going off form this season. I would go Elliot Anderson and Adam Wharton. That would be Elliot Anderson replaces Casemiro, Adam Wharton replaces Bruno. Because Joao Gomes isn't like a 6. He's a 6/8 hybrid, but he's best as an 8. We all know he's best as an 8. Most likely is Gallagher on loan with Maynard going out on loan. We aren't spending money in January. We need money for summer. Didn't Bruno say he would stay if we got Champions League, so we only need one? Well, I think we might need 2 midfielders because 1, I don't think Ugarte is rated and safe, and 2, I think if we're in Europe next season, we will need 2 midfielders for rotation because we'll be playing twice as many games. But I actually agree. I think that Gallagher on loan, with Maynard going the other way on loan, is more likely than Joao Gomes in January. If I was to guess what United are going to do in January, I would probably guess Gallagher on loan. Games feel like a massive panic buy because why buy him but also go and sign Anderson or Baleba and Co in the summer? Would you guys rather we sign Joao Gomes now and get one of Anderson and Baleba in the summer, or sign no midfielder now and get both Anderson and Baleba in the summer? Let me know down below. I think he's seen as an Aguirre. I think Gomes is the Aguirre replacement. I think, imagine going into next summer with Gomes, Mano, Wharton, Anderson. If like Bruno and Casemiro left, that would be pretty decent options. People saying both in summer. To be honest, I think Baleba and Elliot Anderson would be great. I think we're more likely to sign Tonali over Palmer. If we could sign Tonali and Palmer, it'd be unbelievable. But Tonali's just signed the new deal at Newcastle. Palmer ain't going to go near us. I'd love both. What can Gomes do that Ugarte can't? Well, Gomes can be pressed. Every time Ugarte gets pressed, he loses the ball. Every time Ugarte has the ball in a deeper area, he panics. That's what Gomes can do. So let's dive into United's strategy and some other news on United. United plans to strengthen its midfield next summer by saving 1 million a week on wages, which is 50 million a year. And reinvest into young, energetic players with long-term value. Expiring contracts of high earners such as Casemiro, Maguire, Sancho, and Rashford give United a chance to save 1 million per week in wages, which is nuts. We are basically, when you actually deep it, right, let me look at Rashford wages, Man United, okay? So Rashford is on 14 million a year at Man United, yeah? Casemiro is on 17 million a year at Man United, or something like that, 60 million a year. Casemiro and Rashford right now is 30 million a year in wages. Obviously, we're not paying most of Rashford's wages because he's at Barcelona. We're not paying any of them. Maguire's on 200 grand a week, you know. So when you think of Casemiro and Rashford is about 600 grand a week combined. Maguire takes it to about 800 grand a week. The money that we are actually paying Sancho, because Villa aren't paying all of his wages as well, we're saving like a lot of money on wages, which is actually nuts. We're also going to get not only like 50 million in wages saved, but we're going to get 26 million for Rashford from Barcelona. We're going to get 40 million from Napoli for Højlund. There's talk of Roma giving us 35 million for Xerxes. United could be bringing in a lot of money, and United are going to need that because they want 200 million pound midfielders in Anderson and Wharton. You know, Mount will be the highest earner if Bruno goes. Mason Mount, the highest earner at the club, and the number 7, man. Nuts. I like the boy, but if Anderson does start the World Cup, then I do think we're in doubt of signing him. I think if he starts at the World Cup and has a good World Cup, his price is going to be ridiculous. And also, if he starts every game at the World Cup, has a good World Cup, he's not going to have a pre-season with us, and he's going to start rusty. That's the problem as well. When players go deep into the World Cup and then they join a new club, they very rarely hit the ground running as well. That's the other thing that puts me off is if we have the World Cup, he might not hit the ground running after. You aren't getting Anderson, full stop. Tuchel has said he's the starting midfield for the World Cup. Loads of clubs will want him. We will struggle to get in if we don't get Europa. Well, this is my point. Chelsea have Caicedo and Enzo. They've also got Lavia, Sugo, and Santos. City have Gonzalez, that's doing very well. Rodri, Reinders. Arsenal have Subamende and Rice. Liverpool have Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai. So right now, Elliot Anderson could start for those teams, don't get me wrong, but he's got a bit of competition. Realistically, the three teams that need a midfielder are Newcastle to replace Joelinton, Tottenham and Man United. Now, he's got obviously links to Newcastle boy, but they're not having a good season. They might not get Europe. Everyone picks us over Tottenham. Like, let's be honest. The only players that have picked Tottenham over us is because Tottenham have offered more money. Tottenham got Tell, not because Tell picked Tottenham over Man United. It's because Tottenham offered Bayern more, and Bayern were only willing to give him to Tottenham. Tottenham tried to do that with Mbumo. We literally said it the other day. Tottenham offered Brentford more than us from Mbumo, and Brentford tried to force Mbumo to go to Spurs because of that, but that didn't work. So I see it as, well, Elliot Anderson in Liverpool want you. Well, you've got Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai to compete with. I know Szoboszlai plays further up. If Arsenal want you, you've got Superman and Rice to compete with. If City want you, you've got Rodri and Reinders to compete with. You know? If Chelsea want you, you've got Enzo and Caicedo to compete with. But if Man United want you, you walk in. If Tottenham want you, you walk in. If Newcastle want you, you walk in. So let's all of a sudden Real Madrid or Barcelona come knocking at the door for Elliot Anderson, and I think he's a very Prem-type midfielder. I think that he will go to us. There's reports that Elliot Anderson is open to joining United and is leaning towards a Man United move in the summer. That's come out from good sources. So for me, I think Elliot Anderson and Baleba is realistic. You know, remember this time last year we were saying, imagine if we get Cunha and Mbumo. Like, we're talking about Cunha and Mbumo Semenyo, and now we're talking about Ward and Baleba Anderson. We're talking about 3 attackers last year, and this time this year we're talking about 3 midfielders, Ward, Baleba, Anderson. We signed 2 of the 3 attackers we were talking about last year. Without Champions League football, off the back of our worst ever season, what's to say we can't sign Baleba and Anderson, or Anderson and Wharton? I think Wharton's the hardest to get out of those 3. I think there's competition for Anderson. I think Chelsea will be annoying. I think Chelsea are greedy. They're going to go for him. But I feel like, I don't know. I think that Wharton is going to go to Real Madrid or Liverpool. I think Anderson could go to us. He could go Bayern or Madrid or even PSG. I mean, true, but I do look at it and think he's a very Prem midfielder. He's going to cost 60, 70, better take Gomes and Stiller. The question is, can Stiller do it in the Prem? Liverpool do need a midfielder, but I'd see Liverpool going for someone with a bit more on the ball. Barcelona saying they can't afford Rashford, and even if they do want him, I can see another loan next year because no one will be paid wages. If Barcelona say we're not going to, the thing is, and this is why I'm not worried. Okay. Let's say Rashford continues the way he's playing and has a really good season for Barcelona, and Barcelona say, well, we can't afford Rashford. Well, Rashford's just come off the back of an amazing season. Rashford's desperate to get out of Man United and take a wage cut. Man United go, well, that's fine. You won't buy Rashford for 26 million, but this guy's got 30 goal contributions. Oh, look at that. Bayern Munich will happily give us 30 million for Rashford. Arsenal will happily give us 30 million for Rashford. Oh, all of a sudden, Barcelona, who had 55 million for Nico Williams, can't pay 26 million for Rashford. Interesting. Because you were willing to give Athletic Club the money for Nico Williams, but you weren't willing to give Man United the money for Rashford, who's half the price. Interesting. No, let's be honest. If Rashford has a really good season at Barcelona and they say, well, we won't give him 26 million for you, we'll say, well, we'll take him back. We'll play him. That's what we'll do. Because I tell you what, I'll take Rashford back. Amram won't. But if Barcelona wouldn't give us 25 million for Rashford, and he has the season he's having right now, they can F off. Imagine, look, if Rashford was as crap as Sancho has been at Villa, then yeah, we'd be loaning out Rashford again. But Rashford's actually good. So Rashford shouldn't be going out on loan again. If Barcelona don't want to buy Rashford, someone else will. And we can threaten to take him back because he's been good. And Rashford can cry and Rashford can sulk, but Barcelona have that money because they were willing to pay up for Nico Williams. But when it was Rashford, they could only do a loan. They know it's Man United, they're taking the mick. That's what it is. They will buy Rashford. Unless Rashford has a really bad second half of the season, they will buy Marcus Rashford. They will. I can't see Elliot Anderson outside the Prem. I can't. I could see Wharton moving to La Liga, but I can't see Elliot Anderson doing it. Luciano Gomes. I think Luciano Gomes is a very good option for the six. I think, he's about 20 million. He's a good option. The disrespect of Barca finding a place for Rashford back at United. I wouldn't want Rashford back at United if Amarin is there. I also think Rashford's head isn't at United and it wouldn't be good to have him back at United. But what I'm saying is we should just fret. Like, we don't actually want Rashford back at United. But if we just fret Barcelona saying, well, we're happy to take him back because he's been so good, I think Barcelona would cough up the money. Like, I don't think Rashford would want to come back. I don't think Rashford would be happy if he came back. But I think if we play games with Barcelona and act like we're really happy to bring Rashford back, maybe they'd cough up the money. Because look, if you're Marcus Rashford and Barcelona wouldn't pay up for you and you've had the season of your life, I say F off. Nico Williams isn't on 350k a week. It's wages that the issue. Nico Williams is on the same wages as Rashford, by the way. Rashford is not on 350k a week. He's on 250k a week. Nico Williams is on literally like 40k less a week than Rashford or something like that. So it's not like an outrageous difference. Sell him to Madrid. I mean, they've got Mbappe and Vinicius. I think Vinicius is so overrated. Honestly, I know Vinny had a good year in the Champions League and thought he was going to win the Ballon d'Or, but I've actually never really rated Vinicius that much. Like, I think he's a good winger. I think he's a top 10 winger in the world, but I don't think Vinicius is as good as other people think he is. I prefer Kvaratskhelia, who hasn't had the best year this year. I prefer Lamine Yamal. My unpopular opinion is, I think if Mbeumo went to Real Madrid and played on the right wing, in a year's time, Real Madrid fans would think Mbeumo is better than Vinicius. That is my unpopular opinion. My unpopular opinion is that I think Mbeumo would be better than Vinicius at Real Madrid. That's my deluded opinion. Maybe I'm deluded. I think he's good, but I don't think he's as good as people think he is. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But some people feel like that about Salah. And Salah, I think, is pretty good, but sometimes you watch him and be like, no. That's one of my takes that definitely might not age well. Anyway, let's continue on into more news because we've got a few stories and updates on Elliot Anderson. Manchester United and former club Newcastle United are two clubs with a strong interest in Elliot Anderson. Forest will not consider a sale of the England midfielder under any circumstances in the January window. We want Anderson. We like Anderson. It ain't happening in January. We've known that for a while. It ain't happening in January. So that's been said there. Continuing on, Manchester United see Carlos Baleba as a priority transfer target for summer 2026. Baleba's keen to join. We like Baleba. We like Anderson. We've been told that a gazillion times. We like Baleba. We like Anderson. We've been told that a gazillion times. We're going to get one of them. I don't think we'll get both, but you never know. We've got both from Mbeumo and Cunha. I think we get one of Baleba and Anderson, but I think it happens in the summer. I can't see it happening in January, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'd love it to, but I can't. Now I want to talk about Thomas Frank, because Thomas Frank had an interview with INEOS, and, we almost brought him in. Now, we obviously looked at Tuchel, and Tuchel is who we wanted, and Tuchel rejected us quite last minute. And then United also had a look at Thomas Frank. I think we had a look at De Zerbi and a few managers. And then I think because Thomas Tuchel rejected us and it's taken so long, INEOS kind of panicked and stuck with Ten Hag. But let's talk about what Thomas Frank said. Also spoke with McKenna. In May 2024, Thomas Frank was interviewed for the Manchester United job in Sir Jim Ratcliffe's garage. Just hours later on the same day, Thomas Frank also met with Chelsea at a hotel in Mayfair. So two interviews in the same day. Thomas Frank on meeting Sir Jim Ratcliffe in his garage, then Chelsea in a Mayfair hotel in 2024, said, passing an interview with two of the world's biggest clubs just a few hours apart is pretty unique. I know I didn't get either job, but it's still very important to me. I remember walking through Battersea Park between the two interviews, thinking to myself, Thomas Frank from, I'm going to try and pronounce that, am I really living this? But he admitted he literally had interviews with Jim Ratcliffe. I mean, Ten Hag, they never wanted to keep. we all knew Ten Hag was going to be sacked pretty quickly because INEOS didn't want him to begin with, but they got rejected by Tuchel, this and that. But they also interviewed Thomas Frank, but they didn't go for him. Now, I like Thomas Frank, and I actually think that Thomas Frank would have been a good appointment last summer. But it is what it is, and let's hope that Ruben Amorim lives up to what we hope he does and does what he did at Sporting at Manchester United. And Bouma and Cunha are lifelong United fans. It was a dream to play there. If they hadn't been, I doubt either would have come here. Most players don't support the club they play for. It's just a job. I mean, we were lucky to get Cunha and Bouma after finishing 15th to an extent, people can say. I think the fact that we're Man United and they're Man United fans is one of the reasons we got them. But that, someone like Elliot Anderson's a Newcastle fan, so maybe it'd be more difficult going up against Newcastle for him. But then Newcastle did sell him. But yeah, we're quite lucky that there's a lot of players who are lifelong Man United fans, which helps our pool of getting them. But we didn't bring in Thomas Frank. He's obviously at Tottenham. I think he's doing better at Tottenham. People give him credit for. People are acting as if he's done like this bad job at Tottenham because they play boring football. And it's like, well, Tottenham are 5th. And Tottenham were below us last season. They were 17th. He's had no Kulusevski, no Maddison, or no Solanke, 3 of his best players. And Tottenham are 5th. So he's doing a good job there. But let's hope Ruben Amorim can do a good job at United. Anyway, people, I'm going to round up today's show. Just wanted to do a short little live stream, talk about all the news. I know I normally go live at like 12:30, but there wasn't actually loads coming out this morning. I feel like a lot more news came out around lunchtime, and I've just had a busy morning. But big up everyone for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.